Welcome back to the deep dive. This is the place where we sift through the noise to find those nuggets of real insight just for you.
Glad to be back.
Last time, we got into Chapter 9 of the Daodejing, talking about Laozi's idea of, well, knowing when to stop, letting go after you've done something.
Right, that sense of completing the work and then just letting it be, not forcing it, not clinging to the success or failure.
Exactly. And that idea of sort of non-assertion, releasing that attachment, it really paves the way for today's chapter, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's a core principle because today we're diving into Chapter 10, and what jumps out immediately is how inward it turns.
Yeah, feels different. Laozi isn't just talking high-level philosophy for rulers here.
Yeah.
He's asking these really personal, searching questions. Questions designed to make you think about how you line up your body, your mind, your spirit with the cow, that fundamental flow. It's less like a lecture and more like a, well, like a spiritual checklist, maybe. A diagnostic for getting to wholeness, to clarity inside yourself.
That's a great way to frame it. It feels much more intimate. You know, the scholar Michael Lafargue, whose work has been super helpful here,
Oh, yeah, brilliant stuff.
he really emphasizes that Chapter 10 isn't just philosophy. He calls it a practical cultivation manual.
A manual. Okay.
Yeah, designed to help you, optimize your experience in the world, not for some reward in the afterlife, but right here, right now.
So it's about character development, making this world better through how we are.
Exactly. It's about truly living the wisdom, embodying it in how you act, how you react, just how you carry yourself day to day.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear then. We need to unpack this wisdom on inner cultivation. We need to really break down these 6 core questions Laozi throws at us. And then really get to grips with what he means by this final phrase, mysterious virtue. We'll look at how these ancient ideas, thousands of years old, actually have some, well, surprisingly powerful relevance for us today. You ready to get into this inner journey?
Definitely ready. This chapter goes right to the heart of what it means to be human, doesn't it? Connecting our own development straight to the cosmic order. It's like a blueprint for living well.
Okay, let's start where we always do, with the text itself. This is Chapter 10, D.C. Lao's translation. And really listen to these questions. They're meant to be lived with, I think, not just answered quickly.
Take them in.
When carrying on your head your perplexed bodily soul, can you embrace the one and not let go? In concentrating your breath, can you become as supple as a babe? In cleansing your mirror of mysteries, can you leave no blemish? In loving the people and governing the state, can you be free from action? In the opening and shutting of the gates of heaven, can you play the part of the female? In understanding all and reaching the 4 corners of the earth, can you be free from knowledge? To give them life and rear them without possessing them? To act without expecting a return? To lead without dominating? This is called the mysterious virtue.
Wow. Even just hearing it read aloud,
Yeah.
you feel the weight, right? They're not simple questions. Not yes, no. They're invitations, really. Invitations to look inside, to reflect deeply.
Yeah, they ask about how we are, not just what we do.
Exactly, at our core. Sets the stage perfectly for digging deeper.
So, like we said, these aren't just philosophical brain teasers. Lafargue really hammers home this idea of a practical guide, self-cultivation.
Right. And the focus is squarely on this life, this world, making it better by working on ourselves, developing our character. It's very grounded.
It connects to the whole point of the Daodejing, doesn't it? It's not just ideas to admire. It's a regimen, almost, practices to actually change how you are in the world.
Authenticate wisdom through conduct. That's the goal. Become a living example, not just someone who can quote the text.
In this path, this cultivation, it leads to something the Daoists call de, pronounced de, right?
Right. De, often translated as virtue or power, but it's richer than that.
Okay, how so? Because this is where it gets really interesting, you said. Focusing on your particularity, your de, can lead to wider influence. That's a bit counterintuitive.
Well, it's not influent, like pushing your will on others. It's more like cultivating a certain quality of being that naturally resonates. When you're deeply aligned within yourself, that alignment creates a kind of effectiveness that just radiates outwards, effortlessly almost.
So develop your inner authenticity, your day, and you naturally influence the world.
That's the idea. Chapter 54 paints this picture beautifully. Cultivate day in yourself, it becomes genuine. Cultivate it in your family, it becomes abundant. In your village, enduring. In the state, flourishing. In the world, all-pervading. It spreads.
Wow, like ripples.
Exactly. It reminds me of Mencius, another ancient thinker, talking about flood-like qi, this vast, powerful energy that fills everything when your inner morality is aligned with the Dao. It's like a magnetic pull, drawing things towards their natural state of flourishing.
So it really does all start inside. Okay,
Yeah.
with that context, let's tackle those first two questions, the ones focusing on body and spirit.
Okay, the first one is just profound. When carrying on your head your perplexed bodily soul, can you embrace the one and not let go?
Perplexed bodily soul. That phrase really grabs you. What's this yin po he's talking about?
So Yingpo points to this duality in ancient Chinese thought. You have the Hun and the Po.
Hanamo.
The Hun is often seen as the ethereal spirit. Your higher consciousness may be linked to creativity, dreams, the part that wanders. More heavenly, you could say.
And the po.
The Po is the physical soul, tied directly to your body, your instincts, sensations, more earthly, grounded.
So spirit and body, essentially.
Kind of, but the challenge Laozi sees is that these two parts, often pulling in different directions, can get perplexed, disoriented, create inner conflict. The big question is, can you bring them together, unify them?
And then can you embrace the one? What's the one? Is that just the Tao?
Fundamentally, yes, the one is the Tao. But it's critical we don't think of the Tao as some static thing or like a Western god who creates and then steps back.
Right, not a thing, a process.
Exactly. Naturing. It's the dynamic unfolding process of everything. How things emerge, how order arises from countless interactions, including ours. Think of a river always flowing, always changing. That's the Tao. The one is the seamless unity of that process. It's always advancing, always novel.
Okay, so unify our often conflicted inner self, body and spirit, and align that unified self with this vast flowing cosmic process. That's huge. This brings us to that concept Lafard mentions, Yiduo Bu Fengwan, the inseparability of one and many.
Right. The inseparability of one and many, of continuity and multiplicity, of Tao and the myriad of insistent particulars, day. It's a mouthful, but the core idea is crucial.
Which is?
That true understanding needs two kinds of awareness working together. Focal awareness and field awareness.
Focal and field, like a camera lens.
Sort of. Focal awareness is zooming in on the details, the specific task, the person right in front of you, the individual tree. Field awareness is zooming out, seeing the whole forest, the bigger context, the underlying patterns, the interconnectedness.
And you need both.
You absolutely need both, and you need to shift between them seamlessly. You need focus to act effectively on the particulars, but you need the field view, the sense of the one, to understand the context and complexity. Like a master strategist seeing the whole board, not just one piece.
So, if we're often perplexed internally, and the goal is unification and alignment with the Tao, how did commentators like Su Che see this? What does that inner harmony actually look like?
Su Che saw it as a real challenge. He argued most people are basically run by their bodily desires, their impulses. That leads to a fragmented inner life.
Slaves to desire, yeah.
But the sage, the cultivated person, lets their spirit lead the body. Not deny it, but integrate it into a larger harmony. The spirit guides rather than being dragged around.
Which fits with that Daoist idea of navigation rather than just following rules.
Exactly. It's about developing know-how. Knowing how to navigate complex situations intuitively, skillfully, not just knowing that a rule exists. It's like a dancer who feels the music. They don't just follow step-by-step instructions.
And Zhuangzi, another Daoist giant, he took this embodied wisdom even further, right? Saying expertise isn't just in the head.
Oh, absolutely. Zhuangzi points out that while the heart mind, the sin, makes decisions, real expertise, deep know-how, isn't just mental. It's distributed throughout the entire body. His phrase is, the 100 joints, 9 openings, and 6 inward parts.
Wow, so your whole body knows.
Your whole body knows. Think of a master musician, a carpenter, an athlete. Their skill isn't just intellectual. It's in their muscles, their reflexes, their intuition. It's holistic intelligence.
Which leads perfectly into the second question. In concentrating your breath, can you become as supple as a babe? This isn't just about, staying alive.
No, definitely not. This points directly to cultivating CAD, that vital energy, life force, literally breath or air, but in Taoism, it's the internal energy you can actually feel. Mencius talked about feeling it when you stumble or rush that sudden energy surge. Taoist practices specific breathing, meditation, movements like Tai Chi or Qigong are designed to cultivate and circulate this qi, to optimize your whole energetic system.
And the goal is supple as a babe. That's such a striking image.
It really is. Think about an infant. Total pliancy, softness, adaptability, no striving, no ego, no fixed ideas, just open, responsive, yielding.
Like raw potential.
Exactly. It connects directly to that other key Daoist image, ku, the uncarved wood.
Ah, right, the unshaped block.
Yeah. It represents the natural state before human definitions and purposes are carved onto it. It's full of potential, fertile, empty in a positive way, like the infant. It holds all possibilities before it gets shaped into one specific thing. No rigid patterns yet.
So it's about getting back to that natural vitality, that primal openness. And Wengo B, the commentator, he emphasized natural breath here, right? Not forcing it.
Crucial point. Wang Bi stressed naturalness over forced control. This ties directly into Ziran.
Ziran, self-so naturalness.
Right. The idea that real effectiveness, real day, comes not from tight control or conscious effort, but from allowing things to unfold naturally, spontaneously. It's autopoietic, self-generating, self-organizing, like breathing. Try to control your breath too much, you get tense. Let it flow naturally, it becomes deep, nourishing.
And that applies to life, generally.
That's the Taoist view. Stop trying to micromanage everything, trust the natural unfolding, and a deeper, more sustainable effectiveness emerges.
Okay, so we've cultivated body and spirit. Now Laozi shifts to the mind, to perception itself. The next two questions. They really challenge how we think about thinking, don't they?
They absolutely do. Question 3. In cleansing your mirror of mysteries, can you leave no blemish?
The mirror again, that's the heart mind, the fin scene. So what are the blemishes he wants us to cleanse?
Those blemishes are all the things that distort our perception, our biases, our ego, our desires, our judgments, fixed opinions, even clinging to past experiences. They cloud the mirror.
So we can't see clearly.
Exactly. We can't clearly reflect reality, especially the mysteries, the subtle, deep truths of the Tao in the world. If your mirror is smudged, the reflection is distorted.
So the goal is pure perception, seeing without filters. What does that lead to? What's the state you achieve?
It leads to a state called Ming, illumination, clarity. It's a key Taoist idea about knowledge. Ming is knowing that's free from bias, from ego. It's balanced, centered. It involves knowing constancy, understanding the underlying patterns of the Tao, and seeing the small, noticing the subtle details that reveal bigger truths, seeing into the nature of things without projecting your own stuff onto it.
But it's not just about getting clear, is it? I remember that warning from the Zen master Han Shan. Even being proud of your clarity is a blemish.
Oh, that's such a subtle but vital point. Yes, the moment you think, wow, my mirror is so clean, that thought itself becomes a new smudge.
So true purity is effortless, unconscious of itself.
Exactly. It's just the natural state when the distortions are gone. The sage, Laozi says elsewhere, can still tell beauty from ugliness, good from bad. They aren't naive, but they remain impartial, emotionally detached from these labels. They see them as dancing partners, constantly changing into each other.
They don't get caught up in judging one as definitively better.
Right. They appreciate all moments, all aspects of reality as part of the whole flow, without getting inwardly wounded by clinging rigidly to one side. They see the bigger dance.
Which leads us straight into question 4, and this one feels like a real paradox for us today. In understanding all and reaching the four corners of the earth, can you be free from knowledge? Understand everything, but be free from knowledge. How does that even work?
Yeah, it definitely sounds contradictory to our modern ears where knowledge is king. But Laozi is critiquing a specific kind of knowledge. Let's call it clever, divisive knowledge.
What do you mean divisive?
Knowledge that relies on chopping reality up into neat, artificial categories, rigid definitions, sharp distinctions. He thinks this kind of knowledge can actually mislead us, pull us away from the flowing, interconnected reality of the Tao, and create conflict.
So it's about how we categorize and label things.
Yeah.
Chad Hansen called this Laozi's anti-language stance, right?
He did, and it's a powerful challenge to how we usually think about language, especially in the West. We often assume language just describes reality, that it's secondary to our ideas.
But in Chinese thought, it's more active. Language shapes reality.
Exactly. Language isn't just a passive label. It actively guides our behavior, structures our heart-mind. So the way we slice up the world with words really matters. Ancient Chinese thinkers debated this fiercely. Are our categories just useful fictions, or do they reflect some natural order? Laozi is skeptical. He questions if there's any single correct way to partition reality with language.
He's questioning the very tools we use to know.
He is. Our fixed names and categories can blind us to the fluid, dynamic nature of things. And remember Z, the word for know.
Yeah, you said it's more like know how than know that.
Right. It's often about mastery, skill, knowing how to do something, knowing a dao, a way. So being without knowledge isn't about being ignorant. Far from it.
Okay, so what is it then?
It's about perceiving holistically, acting intuitively, skillfully, despite having vast understanding. It's moving beyond calculation and rigid categories. Think of a master musician improvising. They know all the theory, but in the moment, they transcend it. They just play.
So it's about letting go of rigid, fixed naming.
Yes. Laozi suggests naming should be provisional, flexible. It should adapt to experience, appreciate things, rather than trying to control or master them through fixed labels.
Because reality itself is always emerging, always new.
Precisely. Daoist thought sees the universe as constantly unfolding, creating novelty. Our fixed mental boxes can't always keep up. So our understanding itself needs to be fluid, always emerging, always discriminating anew. It's a continuous process of knowing, being born epistemogony. We need to stay open.
Okay, so this inner work, unifying body-spirit, cleansing the mind, letting go of rigid knowledge, how does that play out in the world? In our actions. That's where the last two questions take us, right? Into wu-wei and receptivity.
Exactly. Question 5. In loving the people and governing the state, can you be free from action? This is the classic introduction to wu-wei.
Wu-wei, non-action, but crucially, not doing nothing.
Absolutely not. It's not passivity, it's non-interference. It's skillful action that aligns with the natural flow of things. In leadership, it means allowing people's own growth, their spontaneous activity, to flourish without micromanagement.
Hans-Georg Mahler called it paradoxical management, where the leader mostly does nothing.
Right. Not out of laziness, but because that strategic non-intervention creates the best conditions. Laozi describes this negative rule in chapter 57. I do not act, and the people change by themselves. I love stillness, and the people correct themselves. I am without task, and the people prosper by themselves.
So the leader creates the environment, doesn't dictate the outcomes.
That's the core idea. The ruler empties the hearts, lessens distracting desires for status or stuff, and fills the bellies, ensures basic needs are met. This fosters contentment, resilience, weakens striving, strengthens bones.
By not constantly stimulating desire, unlike modern consumer culture.
Precisely. It diminishes demand by not waving shiny objects around. It keeps things in balance. The ruler stays hidden like the roots of a plant, essential but unseen.
This paradoxical governing, this wu-wei, it prevents society from becoming too self-interested, too chaotic. It keeps things aligned with the Tao's tranquility.
Yes, by cultivating impartiality, by not letting specific human agendas dominate and create imbalance. And Mahler makes a fascinating point about modern relevance here. He suggests many national leaders today are maybe more Daoist than they think. Big trends, the economy, culture, tech, are often complex systems, not really under direct governmental control. They emerge.
So maybe leaders can't always lead with overt activism, even if they try.
That's the provocative question. Perhaps true leadership is more about shaping the environment for self-organization, setting the stage rather than trying to script every scene, working towards impartial systems, even if perfect impartiality is elusive.
That's a huge shift from how we usually think about leadership. Okay, then the final question in this set. In the opening and shutting of the gates of heaven, can you play the part of the female?
Gates of heaven. A common interpretation is our senses, the ways we perceive and interact with the world. Information flows in and out.
And playing the part of the female. This isn't literal, obviously.
No, it's symbolic. It embodies the virtues of receptivity, flexibility, yielding. Think of the Daoist image of the valley.
Ah, the valley, empty, fertile.
Exactly. It receives, it yields, it allows flow. It doesn't assert itself, yet it's profoundly powerful, an inexhaustible source, like the infant, like the river.
So the challenge is to stay calm, responsive, amidst the chaos, not reactive and rigid.
Precisely. Allow for a harmonious blending, a matching of elements, like the constant exchange between heaven and earth. Giving and taking, staying attuned to natural rhythms, timeliness. If you fight the flow, you lose what you need.
It's the power of that receptive core, the empty space at the hub of the wheel that lets it turn, which you mentioned we'll get to in chapter 11.
If you will indeed, that power of emptiness.
So all these practices, unifying soul and body, breathing like a babe, cleansing the mirror, freeing ourselves from rigid knowledge, acting through non-action, being receptive like the valley, it all leads to this final concept, the mysterious virtue.
Yes. Xuándé, the last lines define it perfectly. To give them life and rear them without possessing them, to act without expecting a return, to lead without dominating.
That sounds like selfless grace in action.
It truly is. It encapsulates this whole way of being. It's all about day, that mysterious virtue or excellence.
And day, as we touched on, isn't just virtue in the moral sense. It's more like virtuosity.
Skillfulness.
Yeah, virtuosity in navigating the world and finding and following the paths of possibility. It's a kind of power, but a subtle one, moving others without force, like quiet charisma.
And Laozi changed how people thought about day, didn't he? Putting it below the Tao.
A huge shift. Before, in the Zhou dynasty, day was paramount, proof of heaven's favor. Laozi flips it. The day was primary. Day is the manifestation of the day within something or someone. It's not about being chosen. It's about aligning with the way. Heaven's way is impartial, he says. D flows from that alignment.
So it's not showy, not something you brag about.
Definitely not. Lafargue calls it excellence that is not outstanding. Like good fruit nourishing, grown for its own sake, not for display. It's the inner quality, the strong root system, not the flashy flower designed just to impress. So day is the tangible expression, the materialization of the Tao in the particular. And the mysterious part means it's subtle, not obvious.
Yes. The sage embodies this one day because they're free from vanity, free from that human urge to constantly judge right, wrong, good, devil. They don't ruin themselves with those rigid distinctions.
Because they see the bigger picture, the constant change, the unity behind the opposites.
Exactly. So they can be effective without needing credit, lead without dominating, nurture without possessing. It's a profound, almost invisible kind of excellence.
Okay, this is fascinating, but how do we bring this down to earth? How do these ancient ideas actually apply to us now in our, very different world?
Well, let's take creativity. Anyone trying to innovate, an artist, a scientist, an entrepreneur, needs to cleanse the mirror.
Shedding preconceptions, biases.
Exactly. Letting go of what you think you know to see freshly. That pure perception is often where breakthroughs come from. It's why creative processes often involve emptying the mind.
So it's about creating space for the epistemogony,
Yeah.
for a new understanding to be born.
Precisely. You need imagination to see what might be, not just what is. You have to step outside existing categories.
Okay, what about something like therapy? Or even just good management?
Perfect example of Wu Wei in action. A good therapist or facilitator doesn't force answers. They create a safe, receptive space.
Letting the client find their own way.
Right. Trusting the client's inner growth process. They guide subtly, reflect, ask questions, but they allow wisdom to emerge from the client. They cultivate conditions for change. They don't dictate it.
That's a kind of leadership, isn't it? Where the leader's ego doesn't get in the way. They empower others.
Absolutely. It's inclusive. Their competence is there, but it doesn't overshadow the goal of helping others flourish. You see it in great coaches, mentors, team leaders.
Which connects back to that broader Daoist idea of navigation rather than rigid rules, guiding, not commanding.
Yes, and focusing on knowing how to navigate rather than just accumulating knowing that facts. It's about practical, lived wisdom.
Performative mastery.
That's the term. It's an embodied skill. And you see this influence carry right into Zen Buddhism too, that idea of finding enlightenment in ordinary actions, carrying water, chopping wood. It's integrating the practice into life, just like Chapter 10 urges.
It really strikes me how much our world pushes us to strive, to acquire, to know more, to do more. And Lao Tzu keeps pointing the other way towards letting go, being receptive, unknowing.
It's a fundamental challenge to our usual way of operating, but it suggests that true effectiveness, real clarity, that mysterious virtue, it might lie in subtraction, not addition. Trusting the flow, cultivating inner quiet.
So let's make this really practical.
Yeah.
What can you, listening right now, actually do with this? We've talked about cleansing the mirror, wu-wei receptivity. Let's try a practice. Something simple you can try this week.
Okay, how about this? Try receptive listening.
Receptive listening.
Okay.
In your next conversation work, home, anywhere, commit to listening for, say, 5 minutes with only one goal, to truly understand the other person.
Not to reply, not to plan your comeback. Exactly. No formulating your response, no analyzing, no judging. Just receive, absorb what they're saying, how they're saying it, be fully present to them.
That sounds like cleansing the mirror in real time.
Yeah.
Quieting that inner chatter, the biases.
It is. And it's also practicing wu-wei. You're letting go of the need to control the conversation, to steer it to win. You're just allowing.
Okay, so try that. Receptive listening.
Yeah.
And notice what happens.
Yeah, notice how it changes the dynamic. Notice what you hear that you might have missed otherwise. And maybe more importantly, notice how it feels inside you. Does it create a sense of calm, space, presence? It's a way to get a direct taste of these principles.
So chapter 10, It really is this incredible roadmap for uniting body, spirit, mind, all aimed at achieving that selfless grace, that mysterious virtue, through deep inner work and, paradoxically, non-assertive action. It's an invitation to a different way of being.
It really is. And maybe a closing thought to ponder. Consider how much our modern world, always chasing external knowledge, always demanding activist solutions, might actually be making it harder to find the kind of clarity and effortless efficacy Lao Tzu points to.
You mean, by focusing so much on knowing and doing, we miss the power of unknowing and undoing.
Perhaps. What if true mastery in any field isn't just about adding more, but about learning what to release? What if wisdom is less about acquisition and more about letting go?
That's definitely something to sit with. Thank you. Next time, we're diving into Chapter 11, where Lao Tzu uses a wheel, a pot, and a room to reveal the surprising power of what is not there. Join us then for another deep dive.
Look forward to it.